Hey friends, welcome back. You're listening to the Ancient Health Podcast, and today is so fun. I know I say that on a lot of episodes, but if you are an OG to the pod, then you're going to know the guest that we have on because, well, our main featured guest today has been a part of the Health Institute squad for a long time, since the early days. And I have the pleasure of having my co-host, Dr. Motley. So today's episode is going to be, raw and unfiltered, like conversations with Abi Fernandini. She's been on, she's our fabric frequency gal. She's also, a mom that travels the world with her husband, who is a culinary chef, and their young son. And she shows us all on Instagram how she does it with such grace, but she shows us how to live naturally in the process. So it's going to be really fun. The last time we did this, we went deep into the world of fabric, but today we're going to talk, gosh, I don't know. We've been talking offline for about 30 minutes already, and we've covered a lot of ground. So
yeah,
I don't even want to pretend like I know exactly where the conversation is going to go, but I can assure you it will be entertaining, educational, and I hope you feel like you're here with us in the room, because it's always a good time when I have Dr. Motley and Abi with me. So guys, welcome.
Oh yeah. It's going to be so original. Glad. It's OG group right here. You're right. This is going to be exciting. I wish we'd recorded like what we were doing before, because that was really good too.
I feel like we just hit so many good topics.
We did.
We could unpack some of those. The last time we did this, we were in person together. And so now we're all over. And Abi, why don't you even maybe just share where you are right now and what's going on in your life? Because I think if people aren't familiar with you, you live an incredible life. And as I was talking pre-show, you and your husband are both like the most joyful people I know and can handle just about anything without, losing it, especially when you have a child. Like that's a hard thing to do. So I think it says a lot about your character, but give us an update on where you are in life, what you're doing right now. And then we're going to break down some of the little subtopics we were chatting about earlier.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so at the moment, I'm currently living in Lima, Peru, which is crazy. This is the second time I've actually lived here. I lived here with Rodrigo back in 2021 and got like a really good taste for it. And so in the last month, we packed up our whole house. We went to Mexico for a week because Rodrigo was doing a culinary project there. And then we came here all in the span of a week. And we've also had the flu. So it's been a little bit crazy, but it's also been so fun. And I feel like it's just been something that helps me kind of push myself out of my comfort zone, where I am not speaking my mother tongue here. I have to speak Spanish. I'm around, a whole new set of cultural, I wouldn't say rules, but there's just a lot of cultural differences, I guess, between here and the US, amazing food. And so, yes, it's been quite a wonderful learning curve for me. And I also do have my 11-month-old son with us as well, he's here to learn Spanish and to just be around my husband's culture. So yeah, that is what I have been up to at the moment. And I cannot say that it has not been chaotic, because it absolutely has been.
Yeah, I think that when Courtney and I see your feed, because we spend a lot of time together, all of us, and it's like Courtney said, your movement. I mean, how much you guys move. I think maybe it's a testament to my age or something. I love to be moving, but when I see you guys packing up everything, I'm like, man, packing's a lot of energy. Running around's a lot of energy, but it's it's adventure though, and I think it's what's good. I mean, that's what we were talking on before. We were talking about what are some of the things that keep you healthy, when we're on the move so much, when you guys are, just traveling the world. Because I remember, you guys remember for Span there, when we were watching Abi, she'd be like, oh, I'm going to Germany. And I'd be like, okay, we're going to Germany. And then I'd watch it and she goes, and then we're going to Spain. And then the next thing you know, she's having a breakfast in Portugal or something. And I was like, gosh, she's like, where's Waldo? Literally, where's Waldo? And it was amazing. And the little guy, Luca, handles it like a champ. And I will say this. I have a patient. She traveled a lot when she was with her kids when she was younger. And I would always ask her, I said, how does your kids handle that? And she just looked at me. She goes, it's like anything. You just train your child how to handle travel and they will handle it. She goes, it just becomes a normal thing. Her kids, she goes, oh, they were sitting normally in a plane by the time they were 1.5, 2 years old. It wasn't a problem. And I was like,
They
It's
do
cool
start to know the drill. It's true. It's just like anything. I will say, like, not everybody always like thrives, as you can hear my kid in the background. Not everybody thrives, I would say, in the sense of like traveling, but Rodrigo and I are Enneagram 7s. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that means that our joy is like always changing scenery, constantly like new things. And so like he and I feel like we get energy and like source it from travel. Whereas there's a lot of people who source it like from grounding and like, I think having really good routines and like having their place. And I think that level of chaos can really like disrupt a lot of people's regiments. And so like he and I are just this weird breed of like, we like the opposite and we like to travel. And so we're like training Luca how to do that too. Like, here's how we do it, you know?
Oh man.
So
This is
good. Well, you do it with such grace, which I think is, as a parent, having enough, living in a space of grace is something that you just have to embrace, because there are so many unknowns and variables that can disrupt really the plan of what you had envisioned in your mind or what you thought you were going to experience. So I would love to know, because there's a lot of logistics, a lot of planning, what is it that is important to you and Rodrigo for travel when it comes to your health, especially with a little one, because you're doing international travel. It's not like your normal domestic, popping around the US or whatever. Like you're in like totally different cultures, and sometimes they're probably more developed than others. So what is it that you're prioritizing when you're thinking about where you're going to be staying for any length of time?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's taken a lot of trial and error. And it's also changed dramatically as Luca has continued to grow, because like we went to Peru when he was 3 months old. And then we went to Europe when he was 5 months old and did a good chunk of time in Spain. And now we're here and he's 11 months old. So there's been this like kind of like evolution of how, it makes sense to travel. And just like off the top of my head, I'm like, for young infants, they sleep a lot of the time. And like, for me, this whole last year, the most important thing actually that I think I did for Luca's health while traveling was probably nursing, like breastfeeding, like for that full amount of time, because we were going to different countries. That was actually really crucial. And I don't know if I wasn't traveling so much, or we had different, lifestyles, I don't know actually if I would have done the full year. But I think like because of the situations we were in El Salvador, we were in Peru, we're in some of these third world countries. One of the things that I could like guarantee for my son was like, oh, breast milk, cool. And like we've got like a medicine on hand at any time that like I can nurse him if he gets sick. And even up until this point, that's been really it's been really helpful, just because we caught the flu, like I said, recently, and just changing climates, and so that's been big. But also I would say like sleep has not been Rodrigo and I's best friend this year. And we've had to really adapt kind of how we live our lives with him, and also traveling, like with Luca, and also traveling. And I mean, we have our fair share of supplements. I mean, we bring it. We bring all the herbs. I bring like loads of magnesium. Here in particular to Peru this time, I actually brought like a water filter, like a Jolie water filter, just to like make sure like while we're traveling abroad for longer periods of time, we're actually able to like filter our water and stuff. Because obviously you can't drink the water here. There's also, their fair share of issues here. So things like that, things like magnesium, our RA optics, blue blocking glasses for when we're traveling in and out of airports. That's been something we've used. And then also just like, so I don't think I realized how important the time in which you travel internationally is crucial. Like, so overnight flights are actually very important for us with a little kid, because he's sleeping on those flights. And it's like, if you're going from, Miami to Germany, you need to book an overnight flight. So even just the timing of flights in and of themselves has been crucial in how well we were actually able to travel. And I mean, just upon arrival, like, it's like, can we get our feet in the ground? Where can we do that? Do we have a park nearby? Do we have an ocean, a beach? Like, it's just, how do you do the basics in resetting? And the same thing for Luca. He's handled, honestly, time zone differences like a champ. And close sleeping has also kind of really helped us with that, because no matter what, he kind of knows that he's going to be with us. No matter what bed it is, no matter new surroundings, we've kind of been the tether of like, hey, you know, no matter where you are, you're going to be with us in a bed somewhere, even if that changes. So there are those things that we've been able to do, like, and keep somewhat of a consistency, bringing like certain toys with him that he recognizes and knows, even as his surroundings are constantly changing. There's a few things that, yeah, that's really helped us, just in the sense of travel.
Yeah. Okay. So I know that people we know always try to ask for like the top things, and maybe you don't want to go through it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to say like, okay, so if you have immune issues, like on travel, you know, the parents out there are going to be like, well, what are like for you and Rodrigo and Luca, do you have like, I don't even have to be 3. I mean, do you have like top, like immune builders or something that you'd like to just have with you hands on? So, you know, in case you get the sniffles.
The homeopathic flu medicine. How do you say it?
Oscillocossinum?
Like, yes.
Whoa.
Yes. How do you know how to say that?
You know, the moms know that one.
That's impressive.
I brought a bag full of that, and we went through it this last week. Me, like Luca, Rodrigo, like just obviously for the flu. That's absolutely crucial. And also I brought natural chest rub with like these herbs that really helped. It was something I had got from Sprouts that I had great ingredients. And then I actually went through an entire bottle of Organic Olivia's chest comfort for like the chest cold. So yeah, I would say those have been incredible game changers. And wherever we go, we actually always like stock up on like herbal teas. So here, anise is actually super popular. It's like you drink anise tea. Everywhere is anise tea and chamomile. It's like that's what they drink here nonstop.
So you're like drinking basically Tamiflu. I mean, because that's what star anise is. Yeah, it's like it's great.
No, I mean, I have consumed more anise in my life, like here than I ever have in my life. Minus when you had me taking the anise supplement. But that's been a game changer, and I definitely have not seen that as popular in the US. Like, star anise is not a popular tea from my experience. I don't know. But here I feel like they drink it all the time. 24/7.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, Dr. Motley said something about Tamiflu. What is the connection? Is it derived, or was it originally like connected?
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of people that are like, wait, what? Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, what's definitely the connection?
Yeah. The star anise is lithium. So it's like one of the main components of Tamiflu. So they just took and they make that, you know, so if anybody gets like the beginning of the flu, I usually have them take like 2 capsules, maybe 2 to 3 times a day. And usually when they get the sniffle, the most of the time they report back to me. They're like, I took that, what you told me, and in 2 days, I didn't have another sign. So for young ones, Elysium's really good. Elysium's not that hard for babies. I mean, even you got the star anise tincture, you know, giving a kid 6 to 10 drops. Yeah. Go ahead.
I gave Luca a little bit of the tea because like I give him sometimes small amounts of herbal tea. I gave him some of the anise tea while he was sick. And I also brought the Elysium by Supreme Nutrition. I brought it with me and was taking it. So that's super interesting. I did not know that.
Usually, like if that and on a travel, I usually take Elysium and I'll take chrysanthemum, the Vital Guard. And I know I don't even have a sniffles, but if I'm getting on the plane, I usually take like 1 Elysium 2 or 3 times a day, and I'll take 4 to 6 of the Vital Guard while I'm traveling till I get where I'm at. Because if you know that where you're traveling may have like pollen or like weird dust, you know, or something in the air. So that's my go-tos when I travel, or Elysium and Vital Guard or chrysanthemum. But for kids, they're perfect. I mean, because kids can take chrysanthemum and star anise like in tincture form really well.
And you can take that. You can take the Elysium when you're pregnant and breastfeeding, right? Is that
you can take chrysanthemum too? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know, because those are great. I mean, we always have, especially like even though it's summer. I mean, we're like coming up on summer, and a lot of families are traveling. It's nice to have 1 or 2 things where you know if you're going to bring it, everybody can take it. If you like, Otherwise, you end up like me with like 2 bags of luggage with all of your extra things.
Well, that was me this trip. I mean, I honestly feel like I packed every supplement under the plane because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this.
That's true.
You know that you're thinking, you're praying as you go through customs. You're like, I hope they just don't open up these bags and ask me what I'm going to be doing with all these.
It's me with the salt. It's me and Courtney when we pack our salt every time I get flagged in security. They're like, what is this?
Why are you carrying so much salt? Because I eat it like candy because my adrenals are so low. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Wow. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for attacking me, Molly. That's exactly what my
attacking
partner said.
No, it's just like when people's adrenals and kidneys are fatigued, you need more salt. That's great. So all the people out there, just tell the people in the TSA when they pull your salt out, just tell them it's for my adrenals and my kidneys. That's all I'm just saying. It's like,
I know. Well, it got to the point where there was the same guy at the Nashville airport in like the TSA thing. And he's like, oh, it's you again with the salt. And I was like, yeah, I'm the salt girl. He literally was the same guy, like 3 trips in a row. And I was like, I'm now the salt girl, but yeah, you know, RIP adrenals. I'm doing my best to keep them alive.
Telling you, I crave salt a lot. Yeah, I do. Like, you know, if it's not salty enough, I'm like, you know, I'll put a little extra dash on there too. So, hey, I'm with you guys.
My postpartum blood work did me dirty. And I was like, it's all starting to make sense now.
What happened?
Well, okay. So basically all my hormones were pretty low. I mean, and it's understandable, right? Postpartum, but also I think like between lactation and like all of that stuff, everything went a little bit haywire. So I had low progesterone, low estradiol. I had low everything, low estrogen, low testosterone, low progesterone. The only thing that was like somewhat okay was actually my thyroid, which I was surprised about. But she was like, there's pretty significant adrenal disruption going on. And I was like, well, that makes sense as well. And I, of course, had like, you know, a cavity or two from like, I think between pregnancy and postpartum, everything feels like it was leaching out of my body. But we're in the recovery phase at the moment. So we're feeling better now.
Wow, that's good though. That's good.
That is an interesting point because a lot of women do feel really depleted after having a baby. I mean, not all like the blood work will confirm it, but I imagine most women, if we did a poll after having a baby and like thought, and you know, it's like, what do you feel like your capacity is? They'd be like, I'm pretty depleted. You know, I feel like I'm bottoming out.
I mean, I read this study. Well, I was looking at like maternal bone density loss. And so like if you breastfed, I'm not sure if I'm quoting this 100%, but if you breastfed like for 1 to 6 months, it had protective effects like on your bone mineral density. Like there was, I believe they showcased protective effects and or also your bone mineral density was able to revert back to its original like state. Essentially, so you were able to regain that bone mineral density loss. And then, like, if you were doing 12 months or more, and you were seeing, like, marked bone mineral density loss, and it also takes, like, I think over a year to revert back, and it happens in, like, the neck, the cervical neck, and, like, the lumbar spine. And so I was like, I've been having, like, some issues with my lumbar spine where I'm like, man, I physically feel incredibly weak here. And so I had lab work and it was like it confirmed all of my suspicions. So I was like, okay, I need to start weaning because this is pretty evident.
Wow.
So it's whenever you had the bone loss and I was doing some workouts with Ben Greenfield and we were talking about the vibration plate to increase, like you say, bone loss. And I'm not trying to change subject, but I think for women, especially with estrogen breakdown and recycling and the capacity for a lady to lose the receptivity on their vitamin D receptors, like that would cause a lot of osteoporosis and bone loss, especially like when you stress your body so much with childbirth, and you're asking your body to like challenge those COMT genes, because you hear like Brecca and all that, a lot of the guys talking about that, but it's really the give and take, right? It's like if you're asking your body to like, oh, I want you to completely like change my whole makeup after I had this baby and break down the estrogens, break down my adrenaline, and break down my cortisol, and oops, I need a lot more vitamin D to go into my cells to actually help my bones to build. Like that is a great thing to do, is like vibration plate work.
Interesting.
And they said like, 30 seconds to a minute a day is like, it's like, I don't even know the equivalence, but they said of how much vitamin D, like if you had to take for bone, what is it? Wolf's Law, like bone building. Wolf's Law is like, the more pressure you put on the bones, the osteoblast will grow. But you should have seen it though, guys. I'm not trying to like, because I thought I'm like pretty strong, and he's like, Ben, he's just strong machismo guy. Like he walked around with his shirt off in the middle of the forest. I'm like, I got to wear a parka. Okay, I'm not going to be showing my body like that. But he's amazing. He's like one of my buddies, and he's like, yeah. He goes, now I just want you to do this. I want you to put your hands up. We'll do this. He goes, he was like doing like push-ups on it, but he's like, we'll put it on, a certain realm. And guys, it's like you say, feel your bones build. It like, I felt like every single bone cell in my body was like shaking, and I was like, like just go. And so he made me go through this workout, but he's like, he was incorporating Wolf's Law. Right. And I could feel like the bone moving, like seriously, guys, like in the day, and I was like, I think I'll be sore, but not as sore. And one thing I know, we just talk about peptides. We get into that, and it was so funny because
peptides for osteoporosis.
He was like, he put me through the workout, and at the end, he goes, yeah, well, I do different peptides and different gene therapy, and then he said, that what we just did. And I was like, I was pretty tired. I was like, yeah, that was pretty intense. He goes, I felt like I did like 5 minutes of workout. And I was like, he's a beast, man. I was like, well,
he really
at least
is.
I built my bones up. That's good.
Well, that was the only thing that I could think of off the top of my head, that I was like, okay, well, I went to school for kinesiology. One of the ways you reverse osteoporosis is muscle loading and like lifting. So I was like, I've been doing my best to like get in and like, okay, like let's do some heavy lifting. Let's do like, some total body lifts where it's like, okay, deadlifting, squatting, lunging, what's going to load the muscle, and also the, obviously like help with compacting the bones. But I need to know some peptide recommendations, because that would be
it'd be awesome with that peptide and then doing the vibration plate. Because I know I've seen some studies on it when they did that, and they said that so many minutes on the vibration plate is as much as loading weight loads, like when you're doing a workout, so you can do it quickly. So if you're on the move and you're with Luke and you're traveling, like, I don't know how you're going to take a vibration plate where you're going though, but well, there's always something out there that you could probably buy, but I think that would be good.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, the Vibe plate, you see that a lot of like chiropractors' offices too. So if you're in there getting adjusted and stuff, you could utilize that. That is really interesting about the bone density. There for sure are bioregulator peptides that target new bone growth, formation of bone growth, and the osteoblasts. And so I love bioregulators because they're so tissue specific or organ specific. Like many of them, there's natural ones and there's synthetic, and the natural ones are derived. They're basically like a glandular. So you're getting it's getting sourced from some type of animal, a cow, a pig, whatever. Or you can get the synthetic ones, which are also they're very effective, but the idea behind using bioregulators is that you do kind of a loading period for most of these. So if you know that if you've got bone density issues, like you've got maybe like breakdown, or even if you're getting x-rayed at your chiropractor and it's like you've got degeneration in your spine, and you can just tell, like, this is what happens in age. You can have pregnancies, like there's so many different reasons, but the body breaks down as we get older. And if you're not doing load bearing activity, which is creating more muscle, you're working on skeletal muscle and then also working on bone density, like bioregulator peptides can be super, super helpful, but I would do a 10 to 14 day. And here's the thing about, if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't even know what they're talking about now. I love peptides. The great thing about bioregulators is that they are highly bioavailable in oral capsules. So you don't, if you're like not into insulin needles and injecting yourself.
Yeah.
You can still do bioregulators. They're actually better. They're more effective when used as an oral capsule. And so you can buy them. And the thing is, they're like $50 to do a 2-week round of them. And then you take about a 6-month break and then you can do it again. If you've got a lot of degeneration, you've got a known condition, maybe like it's your thymus gland or your thyroid or whatever it is, then you would probably want to do a 10-day period or up to 30 days, then maybe 3 months later, revisit it again. But you can look at these online, just look up bioregulator peptides. They're very safe. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter if it's your lungs, if it's your pancreas, if it's your pineal gland, like there is a bioregulator for everything. And
that would be so helpful for a lot of women postpartum, because they say that you lose about 4 to 7% of your like cervical spine and lumbar, or your cervical neck and lumbar spine, like 4 to 7% bone mineral density, like after pregnancy and then delivery. It's a chunk. And I would say a lot of women don't necessarily do everything to reverse it. So there's just that permanent osteoporosis that lingers postpartum. Even in but then also, you think about pregnancy and you also have the most amount of stem cells circulating in your body ever. So it's like, where is this balance? This, like, there's got to be this pendulum of give and take on what's going on. So yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
I think it is too. I think that if you look at how many women that they have a lot of bone loss issues, especially after pregnancy, I would safely bet that probably 85% of them, 75 to 85% probably have like double homozygous recessive, like MTHFR and MTHFD. Because if they can't even modulate like their B12 to create enough methionine, like they won't even activate their vitamin D receptors. So like you're saying, stem cells. Hopefully that person's genetics can produce enough stem cells to keep that rolling. But I think it's hard. I'm asking you guys, like in the culture today, we were talking about this before, like postpartum, there's not a lot of movement in healthcare to like take care of the mother after the baby. I remember we talked about that. That's the hardest part. It's like they tell them like, take your prenatal, but I'm like, if you lose that much mineralization, like you said, even in placenta and iron, and you can't, and your liver is kind of jacked, you know what I mean? Like after you get done with the baby, I'm like, you better activate your MTHFR. It will lead to vitamin D receptors and mostly, osteoporosis. So it's just like, oh, you had the baby, you're fine. And I'm like, no, that's like the time you should build more.
Yeah, there's a lot of providers now that are saying, why are we like letting women stop their prenatals after they've delivered? Like they should be taking their prenatals completely through postpartum into the next conception if they are planning to conceive again. But like all of those things that you were taking for like prenatal, and preconception, even like those have to be consistent and like continued on through postpartum, because you're going to lose crazy amounts of everything. It feels like calcium, like it's just, and my son certainly leached all the minerals I could see out of my teeth. I'm like, okay, definitely got a little overplayed there. But he's
Luke
cute.
is the cutest boy. He's
cute.
Boy.
Exactly.
Cutest boy.
So it's fascinating.
What are you taking then? Because this may be news to, someone that's like, I should maybe still be taking my prenatal. Like, what is your regimen now? If you're still breastfeeding, you're coming up on the 1-year mark postpartum, like what are you prioritizing based on what you know, especially from your labs and stuff?
Okay, so if I wasn't doing labs, if I hadn't done my lab work, I would have stayed on a prenatal, and not just your normal prenatal. I would have stayed on a prenatal that was like very folate, it had folate versus folic acid. Like, there's certain brands. I think Ritual is a brand that does it, but there's some really good prenatals. I know Dr. Natalie has a great prenatal that also is just like, it's got the right amount of choline and folate, and it's obviously got really just a great complex. Now, since I got my lab work done and I know what I need to work on, I'm focusing on things like I'm using Organic Olivia's Thyra Pro. So it's heavy in selenium, it's got zinc, and it's got certain herbs that have been really, really good. And also like herbs for liver support. I think it's got like milk thistle and some other things. also has a bee complex in it, I believe. I have been doing a ton of bee pollen because it's really, I can get a half a gallon of bee pollen here for $4, which is unheard of in the US. Yes, it's crazy. So some of the stuff in the 2 weeks that I've been here in Peru, my nails have doubled in length, and that happens every single time I come to Peru. Like without fail, the 6 times I've been here, my nails double automatically. So I'm like, that's a sign to me that I'm likely getting more B vitamins and also maybe more vitamin C, biotin. Like it's a dramatic change, and it happens within 2 weeks of being here. So yeah, I'm doing a lot of bee pollen now. I started incorporating eggs again because I had a sensitivity for a while. So I've been doing a lot of egg yolks for like choline and stuff as well. And tons of magnesium. The selenium has been a big one because I feel better when I take it. I also was super depleted in potassium, which also makes a lot of sense. And I was craving coconut water like crazy. And again, it's really, specific to what each woman is going through postpartum. So you don't necessarily know without, your lab work. But I mean, just physically speaking, I've been doing like a lot of potassium. I eat a lot more fruit here. It is a humid climate and we're in summer. So the minerals from fruit like watermelon and all of that stuff is just abundant. So I feel like even knowing my labs and not necessarily incorporating 1,000,001 supplements, I do feel just a lot better because of the amount of fruit I'm eating and then also high quality meat and stuff. But it's been quite a journey. I think I'm going to start beef liver again, but we eat organs here a lot in general. So we eat like anticucho, which is heart. It's a very popular dish here. You can go to an anticucheria, which is like all they sell is beef heart in different flavors and skewered. So it's really different, like the culture in general here. So I definitely feel like I haven't necessarily had to incorporate as many, organ supplements, which is what I would do in the US. They sell crazy. If you go to Mercado here, like you can buy brains and they eat it like scrambled eggs. It's crazy.
I love it.
Yeah. So I have not gotten that brave, but one of their like most popular dishes here actually is cuy, and it's guinea pig. And I tried that for the first time, and it's incredibly delicious.
Guinea pig?
It's guinea pig, yeah. It's guinea pig tacos. They had them here at this restaurant.
This is great. I mean,
somebody's like dying right now because they're like,
I literally was like, I was trying to explain to them. I was like, guys, like growing up, like I had hamsters and guinea pigs. Like this is my pet. Yeah. And they're like, no, you don't understand. It's so good. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm afraid we'll get in trouble by talking about this, but you know what I mean? Like people are like, we're not anti guinea pig, seriously. But I heard like the culture is like there's different foods, I mean that.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the reality, right? It's like one of the things you do when you step out of your comfort zone. You go to countries that are actually actively eating animal. They respect the animal, but they truly eat nose to tail. It's completely a completely different culture in the way that they view things. And I don't know, it's really good though. It's really interesting.
I wonder too, though, like, when you're down there, when you talked about like your nails growing more and your body wanting more minerals, there's there's portions of the book like Mitochondrial Manifesto, and he was talking about how that individuals that live near the equator, that not only was the magnetic pull that on the body different, like you had more of a healing mechanism when you're more near like the equator, and the angle of the sun on the body literally hits your cells differently than people in the rest of the world. So you actually activate the type of light that hits your body near the equator, and if you're in Peru, actually activates like your vitamin D receptors differently than individuals that are like in North Dakota. So you'll find these people like activate their in a healthy way, activate their MTHFR genes in a positive way. And I mean, they did research on that. It's a really interesting read when they talked about that. And I was like, that's why people say, well, I went to the ocean, I went down south, I felt a ton better. But that would be really interesting to see, you know, with your nails, like if you, when you're taking, you know, potassium and selenium, you know, and like your body can just absorb as much cysteine as it needs. Like the eggs you're eating, like let's say you couldn't eat before, and all the cysteine you're eating now from the eggs, it's just building your hair and your nails. Like you're going to have like glorious locks. Down, you know,
it's really interesting the difference. I mean, I mean, you hear this all the time when you when people go to different countries, they like have these experiences. And Peru does a lot of exporting. They do have issues with pesticides, but more in terms of like commercial produce when they're exporting to different countries. They've seen high amounts of pesticides in their products. For example, like I think potatoes are a big one, and but the people that live here, they don't go to the supermarket the same way we do because they have mercados. So they have like supermercados and then they have mercados, and like the culture has changed where yes, they do go to supermarkets more, but they're still going to the mercados, which is the local people that are like growing the things. It's like the abuela that came from the mountains and she brought like the bee pollen and the like honey from their little local farm that they have, and they're selling them in these stands. So it's like, even though they have this problem and they want to like really make sure they regulate it, for example, because of the Amazon, since we have like a big, you know, there's a big Andes, you know, Amazon here and the mountains, and there's so many like biodiverse climates, and it's one of the most biodiverse lands in the world with the soil quality that's just incredible. They still like majority of people here in the city of like, it's like 11 or 10 million people living in Lima. They're still buying from the locals. Like it's like there's these massive farmers markets and they're open 7 days a week, and you go there instead of going to the grocery store. So it's like, and then they export all of the food that they're commercially producing, right? That's actually got the issues. It feels, I mean, this is what I've gathered so far. So all the locals are getting the high quality stuff because they're buying local. And then everything else is getting exported. And they've got the same issues you've got everywhere else. So it's really interesting. Because it's like the U.S. is getting all of these imported products from all these countries that are subsequently having issues with pesticides, and the actual natives of the countries are like, we don't want this, we don't want this. I don't know.
Wow.
It's been really fascinating to watch and like hear them talk about.
I imagine that the cost too, like being able to shop like that. I mean, if you were to compare like what you'd be spending at like a Whole Foods to buy, you know, certified organic produce, like what is I can't even imagine how different it is.
It's, I mean, for the whole week of groceries for like multiple people, I would say we spend like 150 soles. Well, now remember, Rodrigo's also doing all these crazy culinary videos and stuff. So we're spending the higher amounts. So we go to this farmers, or we go to the markets like every few days. And even still, we'll go to the market and it's like 150 soles, which is like, let me do the quick calculation. It's like 4 soles is $1, or más o menos, like more or less. So, I mean, you're spending like $37 for like a solid week of food, more or less, give or take. Depending on like depending on where you're purchasing, because they obviously have more or less expensive. And if you're buying from the locals, it's way cheaper. But I mean, we're spending probably like every 4 to 5 days, like 150 soles for a decent amount of food. And it's like, it's like 30 to 45-ish dollars. Depending.
Wow. I say, I need to retire there.
Honestly, you can't even buy a grass-fed burger for $37.
No, I mean, like you think about how much you by yourself go to the restaurant, and you're trying to just keep it slim, and you're still paying $42. Like, you know what I mean? Like
100%.
And the craziest part is the quality difference. Like you're paying $40 for insanely rich food, versus like you spend $40 in the US and you are getting a carrot that's like a strange orange color, because it's like,
you know, processed
over
and over again.
The nutrients are so depleted from it, and the soil is so depleted in the US. It's like crazy different.
Do you find though, like over there, like with the nutrient quality so much in the soil? Like I've seen, you read books and you see reports that like if there's a lot of mineralization and they have really good soil, that you usually see people with brighter teeth, better skin, their teeth are not as crooked, their jaw bones are like really aligned. Have you seen that over there at all?
I've noticed the jaws here, people's jaws develop perfectly. Like my husband is a great example. His brother, like whole family, their jaws are perfect. They never had braces. They don't know what that is. They grew up in like a small fishing town and their jaws are perfectly developed. And they're also like, and then also if you think about like Argentinians, for example, Argentinians have these very, very wide jaws because they are such a heavy meat eating country that they just constantly are chewing meat. And so my husband like also has like family that live in Buenos Aires and Argentina and stuff. Everybody has great jaws, all of them, like I haven't seen. And now I would say like in certain parts of Peru where there's like maybe a very impoverished area, maybe you'll see issues with the teeth, but it's not as common as it is in a first world country like the US. It's certainly not as common. And not only that, but even some of the poorest people are eating 10 times better than the average American is eating here, which is crazy because these people are like, I mean, it is a third world country. I mean, people are living in a very different, a lot of these people are living in very different lifestyles, but they're still getting their eggs. They're still eating a lot of chicken and chicken feet, lots of collagen, and those are considered just staples, like the basic staples here. And if you eat, like I said, there's a huge abuela culture here, like a very like strong grandma culture. Because the grandmas take care of the babies with the moms, like they help. It's a multicultural, like families live all together in a multi-generational household. And if you were, for example, to try to feed your child, like, packaged processed cookies, it's like, they're like, no. Like, we don't do that here. It's very like, in a lot of places here, it's frowned upon because I don't know. I think that they just know intuitively. So there's not a lot of question about nutrition here and then nutritional challenges here. It's just now started to permeate, I would say, like, Lima, which is more of a European, it's a, first world influenced area. So there's, some of that. But I mean, in general, you're not seeing those issues that you would see in the US. It's pretty crazy to watch because it's culturally intuitive here.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that when you talk about like higher, the culture can be stronger. When you say like wider jaw bone sets, like that, I was reading, an article about how like you just said, Argentinians, or you talked about like individuals that have wider jaw bones, that being able to actually have stronger jaw bones to actually like chew your food, because I know there's like devices now to actually increase like your mandible size because they think it's more attractive. But they were showing like people that don't think, they think, well, I want it to look good, but with wider jaw bones, if you're able to chew and your gums are tougher, that means that you're probably going to be able to process more proteins. And usually they say there's a strong correlation with people with wider jaw bones, and they have less digestive issues, like less, ulcerative colitis or irritable bowel syndrome, because they're actually able to chew their food. And they actually do that. Like our cultures are like based on like we have weaker gums or not enough mineralization. So what do? We don't want to chew hard. We have sensitive teeth, but with cultures that don't, they're like, even, I hate to say this, but like even parasitic activity, if you find parasitic activity in certain foods, you're probably going to chomp them up if you have really good teeth, really. And then you'll actually have the digestive acids to like, to clean it out of your system, through your stomach. But, and I remember they said that those individuals, when they have, I believe it, when they have wider jawbone set, that they'll have more of a square head. So they actually have more brain capacity. So you'll find people that have like wider jaws, they're usually smarter.
Interesting. Yeah, and they're not dealing with other issues like sleep apnea, which causes direct correlations and issues with brain function, brain fog, all of that stuff. Yeah. So it's like you've got this added layer. Well, what's interesting too is I love watching how, like, for example, Rodrigo's mom deals with Luca, because again, like you talk about this like cultural intuition that they just kind of share. And I don't know if this is just her, but it seems like it's a lot of like, obviously the the grandmothers here and stuff, it's like, I feel like in the US, there's this culture around puree for babies and like, oh, we just give them like fast foods, these snacks, these purees. But here, it's very deliberate that they give all sorts of different textures, and like she'll give Luca this like piece of steak that he'll suck on, he'll chew on. He'll be chewing for 30 minutes. And I think about how important that is for like a baby's jaw, which even though it's its first set of teeth, it's kind of like setting it up for the rest of its jaw development, later on in early adolescent years and stuff. And I mean, they do everything very differently, and it's very deliberate. Like, he's using his jaw multiple times a day for, 20 to 30 minutes. He's like chomping on a piece of steak or something that's a little bit harder, or they'll give him the chicken feet. She'll give him an entire chicken foot and like let him suck on the collagen, chew on the finger. I mean, again, this is very culturally different. So people in the US are like, what? But it's just the way they do things. And his jaw, he's constantly using his jaw, which is like I feel like we have this fear around in the US. Like only puree. And like, that's of course true for the first months when they're learning their like swallow reflex and stuff. But like when you get to a certain age, like it's so important that they're like constantly chewing to develop the jaw. So that was something else that's really interesting here.
I think with like pterygoid muscles though, like on the inside of them, like I do a lot of pterygoid muscles. Like this, the muscles that you like inside the TMJ that like attach to certain parts of the gums, even up into the palate. But I would suspect too that if a child is like learning how to, like you say, chew on a piece of meat or just suck on the piece of meat instead of just completely always giving the puree, like you'll see a lot of times they say that kids will like, they'll suck on their thumbs, but it's all an attempt to release their palate bones. So the natural chewing mechanism is what would spread your palate. So you're actually stretching your pterygoid muscles, the muscles here, and you're actually spreading them out. So when they chew a bit more, they're going to have a better, wider palate, because I had to get like an expander, like for braces when I was a kid. I'm like, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know if I ate a lot of meat when I was a baby. I can't even remember that. But, here it's always like everything's pureed. And if you're getting, well, I won't say the names of the companies, but if you're getting those purees, the ones that we normally ate when I was a kid, you're just getting mostly sugar, no mineralization in it anyway. So, yeah. I think it's a really good, interesting study, about like palate and how kids like naturally try to fix their own palates. I think it's pretty interesting. I just took this whole conversation, made it really boring, guys. Okay, so let's keep moving. Everybody out there's like, let's move it, Chris. Let's go.
No, it's fascinating.
I think that's a really good. I think the natural movements, like for babies, do you find like in Peru, like, cause Rodrigo's mom's given him a lot of different, things like just culturally different that, it's like toughening him up in a good way. Like, do you feel that way?
Well, I think that this is like so relevant, especially to like we're comparing like US cultural norms to like Peruvian cultural norms. And the reality is like whatever you're eating, your child will eat as well. And the fact is here, it is so much different. Like you have so much of a broader array of foods that are culturally accepted, especially when it comes to meat, especially when it comes to organs. Like I said, they're eating things like scrambled brain, and like your opportunity for like your taste palates to try so much more. It's just different here. So he's trying, he's had more fruits than I think I probably ever had for the first 18 years of my life here, because they have a specialty in tropical fruits because of the Amazon. So, he's getting to try all of these different fruits all the time. Chirimoya, guanabana, like star fruit, dragon fruit, pitaya, like, granaria, maricuya, like everything. And, he's developing tastes for those things, which is not something I think like he would necessarily get in the US. I realize now how thin, how narrow of a fruit supply we have, and how it's so incredibly dependent on importation. So you get the basics. You get bananas, apples, oranges. And if you're in Florida, maybe you'll get like a little bit of those tropical fruits, but it's not super common.
No, lime in your margarita. That's about it, pretty much.
It's
Don't you guys tease me about that. That's a serious subject.
I mean, listen,
He's
Mott's, we
serious
miss your
about, he's serious
margaritas.
about the margs.
We miss Motley's margaritas. Yeah.
You're a margarita connoisseur for sure.
I've gotten better. Anyway, okay, we'll go different from that. But I would say this: do we say this, guys? If you're in a culture where you have like apples, bananas, fruits, and then you're there and you have dragon fruit and the most awesome sounding fruits, they just sounded so sensuous,
Rich,
just the way you said it with your R's and the road.
Yeah.
It's saying, and I'm going to tell you something right now, Rodrigo. He's the best looking cook. Anyway, and chef out there.
And that's
guys,
seriously
check out
coming from a
Rodrigo.
man.
Like, yeah, I mean, that's the kind of guy when you look at him, you're like, you don't feel like a man when you're around him. You feel like I'm a boy. That's a man.
Oh my gosh.
But do you find like the fruits there? I would have to suspect that like each fruit, if they're in the Amazon. Maybe I'm digging too deep. They all have to have certain requirements of nutrients. Like, you know what I mean? Like he has such a plethora of certain minerals in each fruit. So if there's eating this variety, he's probably getting all the minerals he needs instead of like, oh, you need a Flintstone vitamin. You don't need that. Just eat all the fruit. Right. This
is the most fascinating part of Peru, right? Like biodiversity wise, it's some of the rarest in the world because you've got the Andes Mountains, you've got the Amazon, and then you've got coastal regions. So you're getting these three incredible different climates that have incredibly different rich soils. So like in the Andes, like if you go to the mountains, for example, you are going to be exposed to 2,000 different types of potatoes called tubers. 2,000 bright rainbow colored potatoes, like very niche to that region, right? Now, if you go to the Amazon, it's some of the most, if you think about it, it's some of the most protected land in the entire world. And again, they're not doing the best job because they've had some issues here and there, but still in respective to the rest of the world, it's some of the most protected land. And the jungle is where a lot of these fruits are growing or subclimates. So it's the mineral density in the soil has not been altered the same way that you would look at the rest of the world because they've got to take incredibly good care. Now, like I said, it's not that they haven't had their fair share of issues because they have had disruption in the agricultural process there. But in the same breath, if you're looking at, again, a lot of these local people who are, they have their little local farms, maybe they're growing these fruits in the jungle and they are like importing them and selling them in the mercados here. Like it's the nutrient profile superior in every sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Compared to probably majority of the rest of the world. Which is fascinating to think about because there's a lot they can do to protect the Amazon even more, but even in that same breath, it's still going to be a million times better.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, we all know that the farming here is like subpar and we monocrop everything. We just grow corn, just tons of corn and then put corn oil and everything, seed oils and stuff. But it's funny because we're talking about this. And so if you're like, okay, well, I don't live in like a tropical area, like my kids are going to, have exposure to this. And it's funny because like, just a couple hours ago, I walked in and Marley, the baby. So she will be 2 in a few months. And she had pulled, because I have like one of those fridge freezers where like the freezer is a drawer and she had pulled it out. And my older girls, they love making smoothies with like dragon fruit, passion fruit, a lot of different stuff. But you can actually find some of these in the freezer section, which I realize, is not fresh.
No, but actually they're freezing it way closer to the picking date of the fruit. So freezer products in the US, I've heard, are actually superior to fresh products because they're freezing them a lot faster post like harvest. So you may actually be like doing yourself a major service for the,
so that's what I was thinking. And then, and also like, you can't like, there's, I'm in South Carolina, but like, you're not getting dragon fruit. Like you're not getting fresh coconuts. You're not getting like, you're just not we don't grow that stuff here. And so if you go to like, you know, wherever your natural grocer is, check the freezer aisles, because a lot of times you can get some of these things frozen. And what I love is right now the kids are into passion fruit. And so Marley had opened the drawer and she was just walking around with the frozen and she was eating them. Like they were already diced into tiny little frozen cubes, but she was eating them. And I was thinking like, you know, we're coming up on the warmer months here in the US, and like kids always love things that are frozen, like popsicles and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like getting the frozen bags of fruit, it like, because again, like for a child, like she's having, like it's in her mouth, but she's like gumming down on it. She's like having to actually use her mouth to chew it a little bit. And she's getting something it is sweet. So she likes it. But again, like she's not slamming it down in a squeeze pouch, because I think that again, it's like a sugar bomb. I can't even imagine like the blood sugar response. And I use the squeeze pouches from time to time because they're just convenient, but also like a lot of them are just all fruit. And so the kids, I watch them. I mean, Marley can take down a fruit squeeze pouch in like 4 seconds. Like it's just like, boom, it's gone. I mean, she just swallows it. I'm like, oh my gosh, your blood sugar. So yeah.
And then you don't think about blood sugar for kids a lot. I feel like it's not a conversation that's had. And I thought the same thing for Luca. And like the one thing that I found in US grocery stores was Serenity Kids. And it's the bison, a wild caught salmon. Yeah. They have all these options, free range chicken. They have like 7 or 8 different options with meat. And like he loved those. And that was the only thing like I felt comfortable, not comfortable giving him. Like, I mean, like I said, I give him a wide variety of different fruits and stuff. But like for his blood sugar and like getting enough fats and proteins and everything in these squeeze pouches, I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense than me watching him down like mango, pineapple, banana puree. Like, which is going to be, I mean, he's going to be bouncing off the walls.
And
1,000%.
It's really, if you think like how, to me, like if a kid has a puree and he's in, like when Marley's eating the passion fruit, I don't know, the culture, we always forget that it's the chewing mechanisms that is stimulating all your beta cells in your pancreas to actually produce enough insulin. So when you skip the chewing process, like you're actually just putting a download of just sugar right in the kid's stomach. And then the pancreas is like, how much insulin am I supposed to like provide? Because that's that mechanism, that masseter muscles are actually stimulating the pancreas to actually produce enough. And then you have like kids that have like tons of diabetes, because I'm like, what do you do with the excess sugar? Make triglycerides out of it, get into their liver. And it's, I mean, just the simple mechanisms, that really make the difference. So, I mean, to me, I mean, you're hitting 1,000, you're batting 1,000 having Luca raised down there, girl.
I know. I'm going to just send you my kids.
Yeah, like send me Marley. Send me Mar. I got her.
Oh man.
Actually, I kind of feel like I want to just
take
her.
There. The abuelas will take her. They're great. The culture.
I mean, bring us back some abuelas. Can we get some abuelas?
Oh, yeah, please.
We need to bring back multi-generational homes is the conclusion I drew here, because everybody's less stressed and the pace is like much different here. Even though it's a city, I mean, it's still got its charge. But I mean, in comparison, the multi-generational homes and like just the way things work, it's wow. It really is eye-opening. I mean,
I think I'm sitting here thinking like some people are like, no, we are not. I'm not living on a compound with my family. That sounds like a nightmare.
I know, right? I know. Well, I mean, again, like it's just completely normal here. And in the US, it's like, why would I ever want to do that with my family? We're out of the house by 18. But I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
I think it's like we just get so used to not living that way over the years. It's like you're out at 18 and like then, there it's just like, no, you're with family for life.
Yeah.
Here, most of us are like, we done at 18.
Also,
I'm out.
Raising kids in this setting makes so much more sense than the way we do it in the US, because it's like we're on islands in the US, like a mom trying to do it all while the husband is at work, or we're like sending our kids to daycare or whatever the dynamic is, right? Like that is very normal in how we operate because we have to. And here it's just like, I mean, for a lot of people it's different here. I'm not saying it's totally like this in every home, of course. But Lima, like, it's just, it's very like particular, especially with the little babies.
Road trip, Court. Let's do
Road
this.
trip,
I'm just saying.
embark.
I'll bring those little turkeys down there in a heartbeat. I was
Get 'em
sold at warm climate.
Amazonian. Get them some Amazonian parasites, get them exposed to a lot of different, climates and cultures and parasitics,
Heavens to Betsy.
Bacteria.
Just inoculating our gut with all the things. So it's fine.
That's been part of my gut development program for Luca. I joked is like taking him to all these different countries and eating all the different foods, so he gets just like a little bit of everything and gets like a little bit of everyone.
That'd be a great podcast series if you do that and you were like showing it on the camera. You're like, now this parasite will make its way into this part of your large intestine, creating this. You're going to stimulate this antibody reaction. You're going to get stronger. Now your poops are going to look like little kernels for about 3 weeks. But hold on there. It's coming. And that'd be the best,
Oh my God.
People think Abby's kind
parasites.
of she's got
listen. We're learning the tricks of the trade. There is this one fruit before we close out. There is this one fruit here that tastes like human feet. It is the most disgusting fruit on the planet. And I know you know it, Motley. It's noni. They grow all over here. Noni, it's awesome. This green thing. But if you tasted it by itself, it is the most putrid thing I've ever had in my life, even if you try to mask it in a smoothie. But I mean, the way that fruit will cleanse you of parasites is unmatched.
It is like that's how Leibowitz, Dr. Leibowitz did. He got sick. He had fungal infections, and because they shave the outside because it's so bitter and it smells so bad. And he would eat on it. He would chew on it and eat it. And I was like, but they use it like everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. You can buy it in capsules here, thank goodness, because I cannot imagine trying to. I did stomach it a couple of times, and I just every single time I like looked at my husband, I was like, I cannot do this. This is like one food that I physically have a serious, strong revulsion to. It's pretty. Man,
it's so strong. It'll clean you out, but I'm telling you, the smell. Oh. Get
that one in capsule form, guys.
Yeah, that one we'll do in capsule. You can also get that in the US if you're looking to dabble with some tropical fruits that really clean you out. Noni.
Tell everybody out there like Mirinda. Get Mirinda Spring. Don't do it straight up because I used to do some powder with Mirinda. It was hard. And sometimes you could taste it. So.
I think I'm going to do some. I have some, in the cabinet in honor of this episode, and then look, she just walked over here with what's left over of the passion fruit. I know. She's just, this is.
Oh my gosh.
Sadie's rocking the passion fruit. Let's do it.
It actually smells so good right now.
I love passion fruit. I love passion fruit juice. Oh man, it's one of my favorites. So good.
It's the best.
I'm going to start making passion fruit margs. Woo! Let's go.
Kind of forgot we were like recording a podcast. I feel like we've just been catching up on life here.
I know.
This is the norm. This is the norm for us.
It should be the norm, but it's good. I think Lindsay's probably on the other side just going, what did I get myself into? I was like, this is our convos. This is what we do. Yeah. This has been good, guys. Ladies, this is great.
I enjoyed this.
It's been fun.
Fun.
This was like the band is back together again.
Yeah, fun times, hang times. Let's do it. Can't stop, won't stop. We're gonna do all right. We're doing stuff. We're doing 4-word phrases from now on. That's our mantra. All
right, we'll kick. You get to take the lead on that. Then I'll tell you, we're good friends in real life, and so this is so fun. We love hangs. We're all over the place, but. You all have people like that in your lives where it's like everybody's always doing something, but then when you get together, you're just hangs, it's a good time.
None of us live in the same cities, but when we do get together, we go to a city that none of us live, like Colorado, and then we hang out.
So true.
Yeah. We have great times. It's just like, it's funny, but you don't see each other regularly, but you have to go to another city just to hang. Oh.
Yep, exactly.
Oh.
I love it.
Oh, this is
such a good time. Well, I've learned a lot. I mean, honestly, I always learn a lot from both of you because, you're both so smart and have so much to give to our audience and everybody that follows both of you. So this has been really good. Hopefully it's helped you guys if you're listening when you think about travel, or even just giving, I feel like having perspective. I mean, just changing the way that you're able to see things. Like, and that's always a game changer for me, because we're just so busy in our world and it's so small. You know, we just kind of live in like one little lane with the blinders on. So it's so interesting to see all that you guys are doing, Abby, and we love following you. You have to follow, if you're listening, you got to follow Abby and her husband, Rodrigo. Their Instagram will just have you drooling, because the meals that they eat on a regular basis are there. I'll be lucky if I have one of those meals in my lifetime, but it's the travels, the fun. Abby's always got educational content, you know, around living a natural lifestyle. So Abby, give us the rundown. Where can everybody follow along your family's little journeys?
Well, you can find me at Abi Fernandini, AbiFernandini. Sometimes I have to like remember if I spelled that right. And then also Rodrigo Fernandini, same thing. We have a lot of fun. We have a good time. Lots of food, lots of travel, and lots of health hacks along the way. So
yes,
Courtney also
everybody
my
check her out.
Regimen.
Yeah, check them out. I mean, it's not fair when you have a family that just eats delicious foods and they look the way they do, and it's, you know, they're just gorgeous people eating delicious food around the world. I'm not jealous. I'm not bitter. I just want you to know that I'm there for your support. Okay. Anyway, guys.
I mean, coming from the one in his like designer hat that travels all over the world too, you're really not one to talk there.
Dubai, you're really cut in one corner of the world there, Mots.
You know me, just traveling around treating parasites. You know, it's attractive. It's good. You know,
somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to take the time to do it.
Take one for the team.
Take one for the team.
Oh man. All right. Well, I mean, let's put a bow on this one, guys. It's been so fun. I love you guys. If you've been listening, I hope you feel like you've just been a part of our little crew, our fam here. We're all friends in this, but you know, just enjoying life together, being a part of each other's lives is it's so fun, and it's a great place to learn and have great perspective and just appreciate all the small things in life. So hope you enjoyed this episode. We will see you on the next one.